Inside this scrap lies platinum, palladium, and rhodium, precious metals worth recovering. Opening the shell reveals the ceramic core, where the precious metals are bonded. Every converter is weighed, tagged, and locked into a tracked lot before the journey begins. Crossers capture every grain of dust, because losing dust means losing precious metals. The ceramic core is crushed into manageable material before it's milled into powder. Milling creates a fine, uniform powder, so the next test can measure the batch fairly. The powder is homogenized, so the sample truly represents the whole batch. A sealed, representative sample is taken, because payment depends on the assay. XRF gives a fast screen, but the final numbers come from full lab assay.
Final value is decided in the lab. Assay methods measure the precious metal content accurately.
This report turns scrap into a priced commodity based on what's actually inside. Once packed, the catalyst is shipped to a smelter and refiner for metal recovery.
At the smelter, heat concentrates the precious metals into a recoverable melt.
Refining separates platinum, palladium, rhodium, and rhodium into commodity-grade metal. Recovered metals return to new catalysts, reducing the need for virgin mining. Tamper-evident seals and barcode logs protect the chain of custody from lab to refinery. With the assay complete, sealed drums ship out under documented custody for final metal recovery. Scrap becomes value, and the metals go back into the supply chain. Subscribe for the next factory. After refining, precious metals can be delivered in high-purity forms, often as sponge or powder for industry. Serials and assay certificates document purity and identity, turning metal into tradable value. From scrap to precious metals, next we go inside an even bigger recycling factory. Subscribe. Recovered PGMs re-enter the supply chain, turning end-of-life catalysts into new production material. Modern plants rely on filtration and monitoring to keep dust contained and processes compliant. Recycling recovers critical metals from end-of-life vehicles, reducing reliance on newly mined supply. Facilities use layered security and documentation to deter theft and prove legitimate recycling. Weighbridge systems tie weight, vehicle, and supplier data into a single traceable lot record. Enclosed cutting under negative pressure with HEPA capture keeps dust contained and people safe. Screening controls particle size and keeps the batch consistent for the next stage.
Magnetic separation pulls out ferrous contamination to protect equipment and keep the catalyst powder clean.
The cleaned powder moves through closed transfer lines into blending, keeping the lot sealed and traceable. Blending homogenizes the lot, so one sample can represent the entire batch. A riffle split divides powder into smaller portions while keeping the sample representative. One sealed retained sample is stored for verification and dispute protection. Barcode scanning and digital logs create an unbroken chain of custody inside the lab. The assay quantifies platinum, palladium, and rhodium, turning powder into verified data. Assay is what makes settlement fair. Payment is based on what's inside, not what it looks like.
In toll refining, lots are crushed, commingled, sampled, and assayed, then valued from the recovered metal content.
At receiving, seals and IDs are verified, so the lot remains protected through every handoff. Before smelting, the lot is verified. Seals, IDs, and paperwork must match.
Smelting concentrates PGMs into a metal-rich phase that separates from the slag for refining.
Even smelting slag can carry residual value, so it's managed and cleaned to maximize recovery. Refineries use multi-stage processing to securely extract and separate platinum group metals to commercial grade.
Filtration and quality checks help ensure the stream is clean before metals are finalized for delivery.
Recovered metals help feed new catalyst production, closing the loop from scrap to clean tech.
A washcoat layer is applied to create a huge surface area for catalytic materials. Heat treatment sets and stabilizes the coated layer so it stays bonded under real exhaust conditions.
Recovered metals help feed new catalyst production, closing the loop from scrap to clean tech. After final inspection, new units are packed, sealed, and tracked for outbound shipment. Recovered metals help rebuild catalysts that work in real engines, closing the loop. Want another hidden factory? Tap the next video and subscribe. Electrochemical recovery helps separate and purify metals from complex mixtures. Final QC verifies purity and traceability before release. Recovered metals are handled like currency, sealed, tracked, and secured. Catalytic converters cut harmful exhaust pollutants by driving reactions over a coated honeycomb catalyst. Platinum, palladium, and rhodium make emissions control possible, and recycling keeps them in circulation. Global demand for PGMs is strong, and recycling is a critical source of supply. Before dismantling, ELVs are depolluted, and catalysts are removed as controlled components. Before dismantling, ELVs are depolluted, and catalysts are removed as controlled components. Verified origin and documentation help keep recycling legitimate and traceable. Some processors use controlled holding periods and records before decanning to reduce theft risk.
After depollution and dismantling, the vehicle hulk is shredded into pieces for material recovery.
Magnetic and eddy current separators pull ferrous and non-ferrous metals from the shredded stream for recycling. Even after metal recovery, residue is further processed to recover value and reduce waste.
Air classification splits light fluff from heavier material, making downstream metal recovery far more efficient. Even the smallest fractions can hide value. Advanced sorting helps recover metals before anything is discarded.
Operators monitor dust collectors continuously. Pressure trends warn of clogs or filter problems early. Real-time dust monitoring helps prove control and catch issues before they become violations. High-dust industries rely on hygiene routines and PPE controls to protect workers and prevent cross-contamination. This is how scrap becomes money. Every step is recorded, verified, and linked to one lot. Next, inside a battery recycling plant, where black mass becomes the metals of the future. Before decanning, outer shields and shells are separated so the core can be processed cleanly.
During decanning, dust can be richer than the bulk, so capturing it protects the lot's value.
Crushing, milling, and commingling create a homogeneous powder, so sampling is fair and consistent. Assay links the lot to its precious metal content. This is what makes settlement fair. Modern recycling plants rely on sealed equipment and dust control to protect workers and operations. Decanning happens inside sealed cabinets with vacuum capture, cutting the shell while keeping dust contained. Crushed catalyst is milled and commingled into a homogeneous powder, so later samples represent the entire lot. Multiple samples are taken after homogenizing, so testing reflects the full batch, not one spot. Accurate payment is determined only after decanning, crushing, commingling, sampling, and assay testing. Differential pressure across baghouse filters is tracked to protect airflow and filtration performance. Before smelting, lots may be rechecked. Verification protects everyone in the value chain.
Material enters the furnace in a controlled charge. Steady feed keeps recovery consistent. Smelting concentrates precious metals into a metal-rich phase for downstream refining.
Primary refining removes impurities and prepares streams for final platinum group separation. After separation, each metal is finalized, sealed, and shipped as verified industrial-grade product.
Refined PGM sponge can be melted and cast into bullion for secure storage and transfer.
PGM products move through secured custody, sealed, recorded, and stored like currency. Recovered PGMs can return to the market as secondary supply, strengthening overall availability.
High-purity recovered PGMs can be used as feedstock for new catalyst manufacturing. Spent auto catalysts are a major recycling source for PGMs, supporting supply where demand is high.
With settlement by assay, payment is tied to the measured metal content recovered from the batch, not guesses. With settlement by assay, payment is tied to the measured metal content recovered from the batch, not guesses.
Some programs issue in advance when material arrives, with final payment completed after sampling and lab assay.
Retained samples help verify results later and protect both sides if questions come up about the assay. Chain of custody systems are designed to keep material traceable through each handoff and can be audited across the supply chain. Recycling turns end-of-life catalysts into refined PGMs that can return to industry, keeping critical metals in circulation. Mass and metal balances reconcile inputs, inventories, and outputs, closing the loop with auditable accuracy.
Continuous emissions monitoring tracks particulate in real time to meet regulatory requirements. Automated weighbridge systems capture gross, tare, and net with timestamp tickets for traceable records. Digital systems sync weighments, assay, and shipment data into a single auditable lot record.
Recovered PGMs re-enter markets as secondary supply, supporting resilient, circular value chains. Combustible dust risks are reduced by capturing dust at the source, preventing buildup, and following documented controls. Facilities add layered protections, like spark control and isolation, to limit ignition and stop flame propagation through ducts.
Dust collectors are often paired with detection and suppression options to control fires quickly if they start.
Responsible precious metals programs emphasize due diligence and traceability through chain of custody requirements.
Training and standard procedures are a key layer of protection in combustible dust environments.
Lockout/tagout isolates hazardous energy before maintenance, preventing unexpected startup or release of stored energy.
Refining relies on sealed transfers and controlled sampling to protect purity, safety, and traceability. Dust collectors are often paired with detection and suppression options to control fires quickly if they start.
Responsible precious metals programs emphasize due diligence and traceability through chain of custody requirements. That's the hidden journey, from scrap to refined metal. Watch the next factory and subscribe. Tamper-evident seals help protect integrity in transit. Seal numbers are recorded so any interference is obvious. Lockable containers and security tags reduce theft risk during storage and transport. As fuel cells scale up, recycling helps conserve platinum group metals and strengthens circular supply. Auto catalyst recycling volumes can be price responsive. Collection increases when the economics work across the chain. With the right smelting and refining routes, PGM recovery from spent auto catalysts can be very high. Process choice makes the difference. LIMS audit trails keep time-stamped records of actions and changes, supporting traceability and accountability. Riffle splitting divides bulk powder into smaller portions while maintaining representative subsamples. Photographing serialized seals and attaching them to records strengthens chain of custody proof during transfers. Chain of custody best practices include keeping logs for sealed containers and documenting when seals are checked or replaced.
Chain of custody documents who handled the material, when custody changed, and where it was stored at each step.
If this breakdown helped, subscribe for more recycling process videos and tap a video on the end screen to keep watching.